Alright, everyone. Here it is. Last war of the season. And we matched up against NewN, currently in second place. We are in fourth place. And that means that whichever one of us wins this war is going to be in top three. Just based on the attack bonuses and matchups that other people got, that's the expectation. If they win, they stay at second. If we win, we move up to third, and they drop down below us. This is it. Like, whoever loses is still going to be in the top 10 and get good rewards, but oh, this war is so intense. I mean, in addition to NewN being the home of Joke, a former officer of mine at SSx, MP Blaze, whose channel is absolutely amazing. They also died 0 times against 4 Loki earlier this season. I mean, you can see against the very first champion that I fight, he has the war champion title equipped. Like, this is a big deal war. And so we went all out for it. You know, we were extra careful looking over the plans. Everybody did all their duels. We talked through our fights. Like, we just were really, really on it this one. And let's see if it was enough. So, first things first, we have Spider-Ham here, who I've mentioned before is probably responsible for about half of my deaths over the last 7 or so seasons. When things go wrong, he kills you very, very quickly. And my normal fight plan against him is to block and bait out heavies early on, so the fact that he starts unblockable had me a little nervous. I was hoping he would block and I could hit into him, as happened. But I also practiced the step backs to get those openings, with that as my plan B, because if there's any input delay at all, you can still get hit from that, and I just didn't want to rely on it too much. But as you can see, we're hitting into his block when he has a bar, trying to keep him throwing his specials so we can keep True Strike up. In some of the duels, I got backed up and was dodging heavies at the corner for like 20 seconds before he finally threw a special. But that's the kind of prep you do to make sure that the actual fight goes this cleanly. We're throwing our special ones as soon as we get them to keep his spider nonsense a little bit lower, to have those counterpunch charges for when he's not unblockable for easy intercepts, and there we go. Very safe fight in the end, but I threw on the indestructible anyway, and I think I literally dueled for 10 minutes for that quick fight right there. I was honestly more concerned about it than about anything else on the map, because I've seen how quickly Spider-Ham fights go south. But that's down, and now we head into the stretch of Claire fights. And so the first one is this champion on Masochism. I could be really careful trying to trigger my debuffs and then throw my special 2s to keep buff immunity up. Honestly, I don't think that's necessary at all, as you'll see here. We are going to intentionally switch into Hellfire pretty quickly because that's the damage mode that lets us outpace any of the regen. But the reason I'm not focused on keeping buff immunity up is that the champion becomes dangerous when he gains too many of his Furies and goes unstoppable and gets a bunch of block penetration, right? He loses that ramp up when you nullify his Furies. He does not lose that ramp up if he is immune to his Furies and they are prevented by Claire. So she is actually better against him in some senses on this Masochism node, because it allows her to stay in control of his ramp, keep him to 1 or fewer Furies, and just rinse it that quickly. So good placement because it messes with certain methods of buff control, adds healing into the game, but actually makes it easier for Claire, funnily enough. So then we move on to tier 2. I feel like I always do this when I get to the middle. I look around and just like make sure, yes, this is the war I'm thinking of. I wasn't path 3 on the previous war. I just don't want to go the wrong place, even now that we have the undo button. I get really paranoid about it. But right there, even after I had put on my invulnerability, actually, I cut the recording and I went and deleted some things off my iPad and then cleared my recently deleted. I know that sounds silly and I, was losing some time on the indestructible, but I wasn't expecting it to make it to the next fight anyway, and I just really wanted to make sure I had all the videos for this particular one. So important to note that this node, Mole Man gets those armor ups from the global and can inflict bleed on contact while he has it up, which I do think that moving to Hellfire was the correct move here because we want that damage. But we're going to have to be really careful with this because that means that if he hits our block, he can bleed us. Now, Hellfire is only ever one combo away from going back into Curse of Blood and being bleed immune, but we want to be careful. So right there, I actually didn't know about that interaction. Because Mole Man went unstoppable when he got the armor from the global, that unstoppable actually put him into frenzy because he was at 5 or more monster mass. And so then he went back down. I didn't know that happened. I didn't know external unstoppables could send Mole Man into frenzy. But not really a concern because our game plan is the same. Don't block or hit him while he has the armor just in case. And when he doesn't have the armor, bait out heavies, bait out specials, wait for clean places to throw special twos. And notice I did switch back into blood just because I was getting backed up. Like, I had done enough damage in Hellfire, and I didn't want this fight to go south because I got backed up against my wall and had to block some hits and take some bleeds. So better to, as we're getting closer and closer to our wall, go back into bleed immune mode and finish it up that way. So then we have this Hercules node. And funnily enough, with these fights so far between the unblockable Spider-Ham, the Masochism champion, Mole Man in general, and now this Hercules, you'll notice most of my fights this war, I cannot rely on or can't even start to parry. Sometimes I can't even block. And I'm just taking this moment to talk about when high-tier war players talk about, like, okay, yeah, but you can't rely on parry. You can't always parry. Any rotation that relies on parrying for it to work is not necessarily a good one. If that's how a champion is built, we're not impressed. If that's the only playstyle a summoner is comfortable with, we feel like they're not quite ready. This kind of war is why. Because so often you end up on these paths where you just have fight after fight after fight, where the defender or the node or both are telling you, hey, you have to play this without blocking, without stunning, something along those lines. And it's just, if that's not a skill set you're comfortable with yet, it's one I encourage you to work on. So notice early on we hit into his block because of explosive personality, not in spite of it, because we know that we can nullify those armors. So here he goes. We're up to 3 charges again because he was immune to True Sense. I want to make sure that we have buff immunity up when we set him to 0. That's why I hit into his block there. Consume, give him 2 more armors to nullify. Infuriate messes with it a bit, but that's okay. I back off. I wait. I let him throw this. I go in and I throw the special 2 after that nullify so that he cannot gain his immortality and I just do not have to worry about that part of the fight. Claire is very good at bypassing that, and it just makes Hercules into a stun immune brute, basically, and removes most of the danger. So then we have this Hulkbuster, which is a good placement because each of his armors reduces your ability accuracy, can make things hard to land. Dr. Doom was banned in this war, which caused us to look carefully at a couple fights, including this one, because we don't have a shock immune mystic, right? But it doesn't really matter. I'm using the regen boost here in case that first shock lands on us, but the basic idea is if I need to, I can heal with Claire. I will always have power because either buff immunity will be triggering immunities when he tries to gain buffs and thus giving me power from those charges I'm gaining, or he'll be getting those temporary unblockable buffs, the short armor ups from the global. Any of those will trigger Mystic Dispersion. I will have all the power I need. If I do trigger a shock and I need to heal, I can. But other than that, I have this armor breakup almost all the time giving me willpower, which is why my default in this fight is going to be Hellfire. Because this is a safeguard node, it can be a very slow fight if you don't do it properly, and that's why we stick to Hellfire for the damage, because it gets around safeguard. So right there, I just flat out messed up. I probably should have hit in and trusted the buff immunity, but I didn't. I was worried it might be a Cersei glancing type situation, and if I tried to combo into it, that it might fail. And so I tried to step back into it, but it was a second too late, and he did trigger the unstoppable. So that's my bad. Again, we can switch into blood if we need to, but that armor break is healing us up, and I don't feel like we need to yet. I feel like at the moment, the better plan is to make sure that this fight ends sooner. Watch the armor up timers, both of them, to make sure that we don't run into another unstoppable, and just focus on damage. Keep buff immunity up when we can, and do damage every time we can. So right there, we've just bypassed his regen, which is one of the main dangers on this node because it makes him passively unblockable. It's completely gone now. We also avoided those 2 extra armor ups. So right here we get the first shock. It hurts. Like, you're seeing that's how much damage it's doing on top of 2 stacks of willpower, and he's clearly running despair, but it doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough to cause a problem, and Claire finishes it out. I am so glad I got to use her in the last war of the season. She's just been amazing all season. Right before this war, one of my friends in another battle group took their Claire to rank 4 and was just absolutely over the moon this war. I think they had like 7 fights with her. All of them were under a minute. Claire is an amazing, amazing champion. And I love, actually, seeing the Doom ban to really get to flex her. It's kind of fun. So then we have this MODOK on Polka Dot Power that I've taken a dozen times, but I gotta be honest, like, this was a close war. We actually had the lead on NewN, which felt really good. I mean, drawing first blood, I think, was really important for morale. But we had the lead, and I did not want to lose it. I've taken this fight a million times, but there was just something at the back of my mind that was like, you are nervous. Your hands are going to get clammy. You are going to miss a special 1 dex. And so I threw on the Indestructible, and there's the first time it comes into play. But that's okay. We just need to be aware of our True Strike, right? There is no longer high ground on this MODOK. We don't have to worry about him building insane block damage. We'd still be okay, because we're not taking risks. We're going for clear intercept options when there's a possibility of him auto-blocking. We're not doing any more than 2 hits into him. We're just playing it safe. We're pushing him back to his next special 1. And when we can, we're relying on Counterpunch for those openings. Notice I didn't throw that special 1 right away, because we're not gaining as much power here as normal. We're having to rely on Polka Dot Power. So I didn't throw it right away. I baited out his special 1, then threw it, so that I have as much uptime as possible on it to get openings. That last special 1, I knew we were close enough that it would be helpful, and there's the second use of the invulnerability boost. So we still have True Strike. It was just about to go away, but that's the beautiful thing about Killmonger. It comes back when you need it, after you've successfully baited out the special, and down MODOK goes. Was feeling really, really good about that one, and very happy that I boosted appropriately. Those 2 hits wouldn't have killed me, but just why risk it? Sometimes when MODOK crits, it really hurts. So thanks to Meta for taxing me through these last couple fights. We were trying to get the boss down before going to bed if we could, and we did end up doing so. And then we just have this kitty fight. And this was honestly the most leisurely fight that I had this war, because it's hard knock life, so you don't want to parry, but this is Kitty, who you don't want to parry anyway so that she gains prowess, or so she doesn't gain prowess. So this is just a standard Guardian versus Kitty fight. Bait out the heavies, block the special 1s, push her to the special 2 if she lets you, and just do your basic Guardian cycle. Like, look how much damage we've already done just from landing those passive shocks. We threw the 1 special 1 to get some extra charges. We know that this special 2 is going to be big, bait out one more special, and let's go. Doesn't even look like we took any brute force damage either. And that finishes it. 24 seconds. Not bad for a ramp-up champion. Or sorry, that wasn't 24 seconds. That was 54 seconds. I forgot about the extra 30 seconds. But yeah, Guardian crushes it. Very leisurely fight. So I'm releasing this one early because this war is over. It was decided this morning while I was getting coffee. And we actually won. We died 4 times. They died 6. Like I said, we got first blood. It was actually my Apocalypse that got a kill on defense first. And I do think that that really mattered. Because we all remembered them clean sweeping for Loki. And I think that was at the back of everyone's minds. And as soon as that possibility was off the table, as soon as we knew they weren't going to clean sweep us, I think that just opened things up. We were able to clutch things out. You know, it may have rattled a few of them, but just an incredible, incredible war. Like, it was a very good defense. I haven't talked about the bans yet, but they banned Doom, Apocalypse, and Tigra, which is the most unique set of bans we've seen this season. And it was a very good one. I do think Tigra may have been a little bit of a waste. That one felt targeted at me personally. Since I think besides my gameplay, we've only sent Tigra to like 2 other fights in 1 other battle group, and it was an unduped Tigra. So that one felt a little bit personal, but that's okay. I got to use Claire. Yeah, it was a fantastic war. BG3 got another donut, bringing us to 5 out of the 12 wars for the season. I'm going to have to go back and look, but Toffrey brought up that one of our 164s was a disconnect, so if I haven't already counted that one, then we didn't actually die in half of our wars this season as a BG, and that, I'm just so proud of BG3. It's been going really, really well. But yeah, the Apocalypse ban was very good. There was an Omega Sentinel on 46 that screamed, send a Horseman Archangel here. But we didn't have Apocalypse, so we couldn't make a Horseman. So Taint, another officer in the BG, just had an amazing run. We'd never seen an Omega Sentinel on defense before, and he just got it done with his rank 3 Sig 200 thing. Like, again, this was an amazing war. We had to try new stuff with everything on the line. NewN really made us work for it, and it paid off. I'm absolutely ecstatic. Some of you may have heard me mention before, back when I was in the Alliance WA, I was in contention, or like we were in contention for the top 3 several times, and we finished 4th like 5 times. It was crushing, and honestly it was probably part of what prompted my retirement in between WA and SSx. But this time we got top 3. And it's just an amazing feeling to finally cross over that. Like, there's so much that goes into war. There are all kinds of qualifiers you can make, but we've really earned this one. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, we beat ASR, DSVG, 4 Loki, NewN. It was just an incredible, incredible run, and I'm so proud of this little alliance, and I'm so happy that this is my home in this game. Has been really, really awesome. So a game very well played to NewN. That was one of the best wars I've ever been a part of. It was an absolute blast going up against y'all. And good luck to everyone on your season rewards openings. This has been a good one. Now, if anyone has any pull with Kabam, can we please get more than 2 weeks off? Because I feel like I need it. Alright, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll catch y'all next time. Till then, take care.